Everybody, welcome back. Very excited to have my next guest on the show, Dabb, in the house. He is an amazing individual, even though I just met him a couple weeks ago. He's doing great things. He's former law enforcement many years. He's going to talk about that. And welcome, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. You know, it's funny. You just said something, oh, he's a great guy or whatever. And, you know, I was just listening to a podcast with a psychologist on there, and a discussion was occurring based on, you know, outside appearances, how everybody looks. You know, you meet somebody, you're all cheery, social media, everything's all hunky-dory.
Everything's fucking fake on fucking
cakes
social
and
media.
pie. Yeah, but we're all fucking suffering inside one way or another. Even the most successful people in the world are suffering. And yeah, so fuck all this fake ass shit. I'm done with that nonsense.
That's what I tell people. You know this, Kurt. I mean, is that, you look, social media plays its purpose. It's good, you know, but nobody's driving around. Not everybody's driving around in a fucking Lambo, jetting off to New York City for a date and stuff. That's not real life. And to your point, everybody's dealing with shit. Everybody has baggage. What I like about guys like you, and women too, is everybody has their baggage, but you had the courage to come forward and say, look, I'm screwed up. I need some help. Same with me. And those are the people I really admire. Not that I don't admire other people.
Sure.
But we have a problem in law enforcement, brother. You know that. I think we're getting a little better, where we get these people that are saying, fuck it, I'm not going to come forward. I'm afraid. I got my ego. What the fuck are people going to say about me? I wish we could just get past that. I think we're getting better.
I think we are too. And I really believe that finally the military is leading the way in that, you know, with different forms of treatment, you know, alternative forms of treatment and stuff like that. There's a lot of different studies going on with different types of psychotropic drugs, you know,
ketamine, all that stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff going on. It's just sad that, you know, us as cops have been given an inordinate amount of work, difficult work, stuff that cops were not supposed to do. And you know, that's what we're doing on a daily basis, and there's no relief. And without that relief, you become messed up and desensitized.
Well, you did, you know, you were in law enforcement for 20 years.
Yep.
I was in for a little longer, 23. It's the same. But to your point, I mean, things have changed so much. I mean, who would have thought, brother, like when you and I got into law enforcement, we'd be giving fucking Narcan to people to have them come back and try to delay that OD to get them to a higher level of care, or, you know, some other. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but to your point, you know, it's shoveling on all this responsibility. Mental health calls. I mean, how many did you have? I know you worked in a bigger jurisdiction, but now our men and women out there serving are going to these calls every day, multiple calls. You worked in a big jurisdiction.
Yeah, it used to be when we would go to mental health calls, we would be there for the long fucking haul. It didn't matter if you were threatening to hurt yourself or you were threatening to hurt others. We're fucking there. And even if no crime was committed, we were there and we were going to force the issue. If someone said you had mental health issues and, you know, you were threatening to kill yourself, we're going to get a court order from a judge and from a doctor, and we're going to take you. And now, you know, my agency had a couple of shootings where, you know, they were deemed justified, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you always should.
Sure.
So there's been a shift in dealing with the mental health calls that, you know, my former agency and a lot of the local agencies do. If you're threatening to kill yourself and you're not going to harm anybody, you're not threatening to hurt anybody else, you're not threatening to kill anybody else, then we'll talk to you. We'll have one of our CIT trained officers call and contact you, but we're not going to push the issue, because is killing yourself against the law? Fucking A, it is not.
No. And why are you going to sacrifice
one of our lives possibly.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead one of us to get killed trying to force our ideals and morals and laws, that for all intents and purposes, are a little ass backwards. And then have one of us get hurt or killed, for God's sake.
Yeah. Now, you went through some tough periods in your life, brother.
Yeah, I still am going through, man.
Yeah. I mean, everybody does. I mean, I'm still in recovery. You're in recovery. But can you talk about that a little bit? What you went through? You don't have to dive, just kind of scratch the surface with that.
So it all stems from my first officer involved shooting that happened back in August 11th of 2006. After that shooting incident, so you ever have the dream where the bullet falls out of your gun or you have a misfire? All cops do, right? Well, that became my reality. I was being choked out by a felon on the roof of a fucking house by myself. He was high on meth. I'm 130 pounds at that time, soaking wet, but I was a hard fucking charger. I was one hell of a juvenile wrestler on my high school team, bro.
You look like a badass dude.
Yeah.
And plus, you were in the military too. You're in the Army.
Yeah, I was a grunt. And you were in the Army, so
we're brothers. I was an airborne grunt.
Right on. My back and my knees are in much better shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up putting the gun, I carried a Glock 21, 45 caliber, put it up to his side, and I'm like, this is going to be fucking loud. But I have to kill him because he's got me in a rear naked chokehold. So I squeezed the trigger and the gun went click. What had happened is I had a misfire. And that led to a downward spiral of just not giving a fuck, trying to get into as much shit as I can because I was so angry that happened to me. I wanted to fight everybody I could. I wanted to chase everybody I could. I wanted to prove to myself that I was able to defend myself because I felt like a failure up there on the roof, even though we were able to get him into custody.
Sure.
I had a canine partner with me there who is one of my best friends, and he suffers from that incident as well. And so I just started noticing behavior changes, and I'm like, I got to tell somebody. So I brought it up to my agency. At that time, they sent me for a psychological fit for duty evaluation. I was diagnosed with an adjustment disorder. This was back in 2007. I went to therapy, did some some antidepressant, anxiety medicines. And then, I worked my way back to work. And it was an amazing fucking experience. My agency had my back, I felt. They let me go through the process to heal just as if I had a broken leg. But in the meantime, I'm going to therapy. I'm lying to my therapist because I'm afraid of losing my job.
Sure.
I wasn't 100% truthful. Even though I came forward with these difficulties, I wasn't 100% honest. Delve down into alcoholism. I quit drinking 11 years ago. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I'd have killed myself a long time ago. Suicidal ideations, depression, avoidance, not paying attention to my family, which caused internal problems there. Yeah, it's been a long fucking road. And finally, in May 3rd of 2021, I secured a homicide conviction in my last trial. And May 4th, 2021, I was brought into personnel and told I was no longer, didn't meet the minimum qualifications to be a cop.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I went through this stuff before. Why aren't you going to help me now? And it was just told, well, we're not going to, you're at your 20 years. And so, yeah, I was forced into a medical retirement, which I'm glad I got now. And, I've done all kinds of therapy. I started EMDR therapy a little over 2 years ago, and that really saved my life. My therapist is such a wonderful person, works only with cops and other first responders. And I've done equine therapy, which is amazing. I went to Boulder Crest organization retreat here in Sonoyta, Arizona, south of Tucson. All free, paid for, combat veterans and first responders. So check that place out, bouldercrest.org. And now I'm, for the past, I feel like I keep rambling on here.
No, go. This is good.
For the last 33 years since I graduated high school in 1990, I left for basic training 12 days later, Fort Benning, Georgia, in the middle of the fucking summer. Loved it. Fort Benning School for Wayward Boys.
I've been there, brother.
Right. And so going from that to getting out and going to college, earning my bachelor's degree, and then immediately becoming a cop.
Yeah.
And while I was in college, I was still in the National Guard and the Reserves, which I did for 11 years, 4 years active duty. So since 1990, I've been and lived under the thumb of the man. And I took an oath in 1990 and again in 2001. And I lived and breathed and bled and sweat and cried that oath.
Yeah.
And now that I'm retired and am able to look at things from the other side, I'm not conflicted about my police work. I loved it. I helped a lot of people. I was an amazing fucking detective, man. I absolutely loved the work, but some of the things that that we had to do dealing with mental health issues, which we spoke about, drug addiction, with our clientele, I think, we've been going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so now this next part of my life, these next 50 years, I'm going to explore, because that's what I am. I'm a fucking explorer, man. I'm an adventurer.
Yeah.
And I love learning about the mind. I love learning about my post-traumatic stress, what causes it.
Yeah.
Going back into the history of my family to learn, the familial things that get passed on from generation to generation. So I'm really looking forward to this next chapter in my life, if you will, to explore these different things. And like, I don't want to get all fucking political and shit, but I guess I'm going to, I'm conservative in nature. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm more of a libertarian, I vote down the middle. When elections come, I vote for the left and, for the right, depending on what I want or what I think I need or we need. There's always that one segment of the population, the hippies. And we always used to call them when working fucking dirty hippies, fucking dirty hippies. But I'm telling you, man, those individuals are some of the most down-to-earth, kind-hearted, beautiful people. And if I can harness some of that by experiencing some of the things that I've been experiencing through therapies and dealing with the brains and psychedelics and stuff like that, then fucking man,
do it.
That's gonna, it's gonna make me that much better of a husband, of a father. If I decide to go back to work, a better employee, it's going to make me a better human, man. We're all fucking connected. And as much as I hated to agree with that shit, it's fucking true.
It's true. And you said everything's great what you said. I mean, the brain, this, brother, we only know like 8% of the brain. We're constantly learning about the brain. You work narcotics when you were a cop. I was on the street. I remember arresting people for hallucinogenics, did what I was told to do, ketamine and all this other stuff. Now, to your point, we are learning now that, and this, but the listener might, through like certain doses of ketamine, other things, we can actually help people who are suffering from PTSD, whatever you want to call it. And it's not a bad thing. So why aren't we using everything in our quote arsenal to help vets, to help first responders and the general population.
Yeah.
You know, with different treatment modalities.
So I began reading about psychedelics shortly after I was diagnosed with PTSD, because when I was diagnosed with that, I told my EMDR therapist, I said, good. And she looked at me like, what do you mean good? And I said, well, now that I know what it is, I want to fucking work to fix it.
Yeah.
I just don't want some medication. I just don't want to, take a pill and just be a fucking vegetable. I want to fix what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a headache and you give me an aspirin. I want to get to the root cause of this.
Sure.
So it's led me down this journey, my wellness journey of figuring out why the brain works the way that it does, why we react to certain situations the way that we do. And one of the things that I came upon was ketamine therapy. It's actually an FDA approved drug for what do they call it? It's clinical depression, but it's treatment resistant or whatever. And imagine being a cop for 20 plus years and having fucking depression that, you can't overcome.
Yeah. Shocking.
So I never even knew that this was available, bro.
I didn't either.
My therapist and my psychiatrist didn't even tell me about it.
Because, okay, I'm going to get into the conspiracy portion of myself right now. Why? Because big pharma they want you hooked on other stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want you going to, and this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that they don't want you to, no, you got to take your Lexapro, dude.
Yeah.
We can't have you going outside. I really believe, brother, the older I get, I think a lot of things that we have to be cured with nature, a lot, different holistic approaches, things like that. Again, I think so much is big pharma. Yeah. And I'm not saying traditional. So if you're out there listening and saying, oh, I hate, traditional medications have their purpose. All I'm saying is, like, to your point, why aren't we looking at these different treatment options? Because 20 years ago, nobody knew about this, but I guess that as time goes on, we're exploring more, we're learning more, and we're saying, oh, this is a viable option because we've done studies on it. It's FDA approved.
Yeah.
Let's use it. And what I mean by ketamine, when I went through treatment, it's not they're handing out ketamine to everybody. Everybody's on a different treatment track, like, and sometimes it works for certain people. Sometimes they're not going to recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the stuff I use is FDA approved. It's called Spravato. It's made by Janssen, I think, is a pharmaceutical company. And it's amazing, dude. I've stopped and started a couple of times because I went on some extended vacations because I'm retired and I can do that now. But I would notice, a shift in my behavior again, and my thinking, these invasive and intrusive thoughts that would come into my head. And as soon as I would, start back up on Spravato, that it would go away immediately.
Yeah.
And so ketamine is there's two molecules, and I'm not a fucking scientist. I just read this the other day, but there's ketamine R and ketamine S. Ketamine R is the actual drug, like, they'll do intravenous and stuff like that for surgeries or treatment or what have you. Ketamine S is the S-ketamine. And so, but it's amazing. But my thing is again, it works amazing. And when I have these thoughts, they go away, but I don't want to have to keep going back there. I was going twice a week. Now I'm going once a week. And it's really fucking cheap, man. It's $15. So if anyone listening out there and you're in the care of a psychiatrist, ask them about ketamine therapy, S-ketamine therapy.
But to your point, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but won't your body grow a resistance to it as time goes on? You know what I mean? Or am I just stupid?
No, not with the ketamine, and especially the S-ketamine, because it's controlled. You don't have it at home. You only get it when you go there. You don't take it with you when you leave. So the instances of addiction or tolerance, are pretty negligible.
Yeah.
From what I've read. But so that has led me into, and you spoke about holistic, stuff. So all of this research that I've done has led me to seeking out, a shaman or a healer or,
I love
something
that
like that.
stuff.
And I think I've, made a contact, and, we'll see what happens. But again, I'm the last person that I ever thought would be an advocate for fucking marijuana and or psychedelics to help with
Me too.
PTSD, depression,
Because that was the
anxiety. But
culture we grew up in.
yeah, man.
That was the
Yes.
culture we
Yeah.
grew up in. And remember, not Reefer Madness was a long
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
ago, but remember
Before
growing
us,
up
but
in this
yes.
culture where, oh my God, marijuana when you and I were growing up was like the thing. Well, now, I mean, it's used for, I don't have to tell you, the listener. I mean, there is a lot of benefits to
So
marijuana.
absolutely. And I use it to
And
help
it's
me
natural.
sleep. Yep. I use it to help me. How many DVs did you ever go to while you
Fuck,
domestic
dude, I
violence
have this
calls?
conversation all the time. So, okay, so Colorado was the first state to
Yeah.
legalize marijuana in the union. And I remember friends that weren't cops, like relatives, would reach out, oh my God, is it like a scourge? Are there crimes going, people killing each other? I mean, a little dramatic, but you know what I mean? They thought that crime was going to be such a spot. Are you kidding? We have more fucking problems with alcohol than we'll ever have with marijuana. And to your point, I have never gone to a bar fight where people are just high on marijuana.
Yeah.
If anything they're doing is they're fighting to get the fridge open because they're
Yeah.
hungry and they're chilled out. I'm not saying there's outliers out there probably,
Mhm.
but I don't have to tell you, if you go to a fight and you smell wine, I guarantee you there's something else on board.
Yeah.
There's meth, there's coke, there's whatever.
Yeah.
It's not just pot.
No.
So I mean,
So
that's just a total
yeah.
wash.
No, so I use it to sleep. I
Yeah.
use marijuana when I have bouts of anxiety. Um and sometimes I use it recreationally. One it, the first time that I used it recreationally, we were at a retirement party for one of my buddies from
Yeah.
the department. And we got home. I had the best time because, I quit drinking 11 years ago. When I would go to parties or gatherings, I would just basically hang out and not
Yeah,
really enjoy
because everybody's
myself
drinking.
around all of my best friends. You know what I mean? I couldn't enjoy myself around my best friends
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they were drinking. And I got high before that party because I wanted to be able to enjoy myself
Yeah.
and relax. And
Yeah.
when I got home, my wife told me, she's like, that was the Kurt that I met in college 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And it made me fucking cry, man.
Yeah.
So yes, I had to use it to get to a place, but now I can enjoy those things without having to
Well,
use marijuana,
and
you
here's the
know?
thing: you are you're not Kurt. You just said at the beginning, it's not like you're a marathoner. You're out there. You're taking care of yourself. You're running. You're doing all this stuff. It's not like you're sitting on the couch playing fucking Nintendo or Sega or Xbox for 12 hours a day
Yeah,
doing nothing with your life.
yeah.
So I think there's a big difference. You're
Sure,
taking care
there
of
is.
yourself. You're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I'm taking care of myself. I'm reading. Like you said, I
Absolutely.
run a lot. I do ultra marathons. I'm an endurance athlete. It's that
Yeah.
also is part of my therapy. And I think that's the point that we all need to realize, is that there's no one silver bullet that's going to cure everything. So if you're fucking suffering and you want to turn your life around 180 degrees, start opening your eyes, opening your mind, and listening to what those who have been there are doing to help themselves, and
Absolutely.
consult a professional,
And
you know?
open up your mouth.
Yeah. Say
Meaning
something.
call people, call Kurt, call me, call Dan, call anybody. Just don't sit there. And because I did the same shit. I was
Yeah.
isolating, lost my, been through 2 marriages and all, it's my fault. I mean, yeah, it's a 2-way street, but I don't blame any of my ex-wives. I say, and that sounds horrible. Any of my ex-wives. I've been married twice. I
Well,
don't.
you're low for a cop, so that's good. And
But
so am I. I've only been married once.
my last marriage, I don't blame her for
Yeah.
when I get divorced, because you know what? I would have fucking divorced me. The way I was acting.
For you to see that and realize that is huge. And you know what you said, you know, there's opposite parts. You know, my wife and I have gone through our difficulties. Obviously, we've been married 22 years,
Congrats.
but there's always two sides. You
Yeah,
know,
there is.
if she was to do something that I didn't appreciate, I own some of that. I own half of that. If I did
Absolutely.
something she didn't, she owns half of that.
And I think that,
And
yes.
it's very difficult for us to
Well,
find
of
that
course.
humility.
Of course,
Yeah.
because we're first responders and we want to be right all the time, and it's ego and it's.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't care if you're a man or a woman. It's not. I mean, female first responders are like that, or can be like that.
Yeah.
And especially comes with mental health. You know, so what are you going to do? Are you going to, for the listener out there, are you going to sit around and just wallow in self-pity? I hate to be a dick, but that's what it is. Or are you going to reach out and make that first call? We have this one life, right? We're not here forever. It's a very short life, by the way. So are you going to live, you know, like Groundhog Day, every day is the same? Or are you going to reach out? There's plenty of options out there, brother. When you and I were young cops, we didn't have all the plethora of treatment availability out there. Now you have to vet that treatment.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I worked for FHE Health and Shatterproof. You know, I mean, I didn't just, I mean, I looked into it before I went, even though because I was in a shitty space.
Right.
But there's so many options out there. So I don't want to hear the excuses. Well, you know, there's not much bullshit.
No, there is. And one of the first things that I did when I retired, so I retired November 1st of last year. And in February of this year, I went to a training class for Copline. Copline is an organization
amazing
that
organization.
is a crisis line for cops that's
run by cops,
staffed by 100% retired cops with a minimum of 10 years on duty. And I have had so much gratitude being able to speak with our brothers and sisters that are in crisis, that it's amazing to me. But it hurts me that not more of us are making that call. So yeah, you can call me, you can call whoever, but call Copline.
Yeah.
If you can't pick up the phone and call your best friend because you don't want to burden him or her with your issues, because I think that's one of the big reasons why we don't reach out, because we know we're all suffering.
Sure.
Call the Copline, 1-800-COPLINE, and there are cops there that are willing to get you out of that hole. Because there was an analogy that was given to me while I was at that training, and it's pretty remarkable. You know, you're down in a hole because you're suffering. You know, you have financial issues, marriage issues, alcohol, drug issues, whatever, and you're asking for help, you're screaming for help, and someone comes by, another cop comes by, and he looks down and he sees you suffering, but he's like, I can't get you out of that fucking hole. I have no idea. I've gone through the same shit that you've gone through. I've seen the same, but I don't know how to get out of there.
Yeah.
And this goes on for a long time, you know, until someone like you or I come up to that hole and look down at that guy or girl in there and say, hold on a second. And then you jump down in that hole with them.
I love
and
that.
then you're looking at me like, what the fuck? You're a crazy motherfucker. How are we going to get out of here? And all you have to do, man, is be like, look, and this is what I'm telling all of the listeners right now. Look, I've been there. I know how to get out of this hole. Reach out and make contact.
I love it. I love it. That's such a, I might have to steal that, dude.
It's good, dude.
I always go back. It's such a good analogy. I like the one, you know, where, you know, going back to the Matrix, you know, Morpheus telling Neo, I can only show you the door, but you got to walk through it.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think, you know, at least it was for me in my treatment is that, and again, everybody's different, but the outpouring of support that I had, you know, for, you know, and everybody has a different experience. The outpouring was shocking. It was very humbling. You know, it got me very upset that, okay, you know, I went forward and I was expecting people to treat me differently or, look down on me or make fun of me. And it was an outpouring of support. So I think to your point, I mean, look, I always tell people, Kurt, I mean, and I don't, hopefully I don't sound like a dick like this. Look, everybody's going through problems. Your problems are not unique. They're unique to you, and that doesn't make them less important. All I'm saying is millions of others have dealt with the same stuff.
Yeah.
So you're an alcoholic. Okay, that's horrible. You're addicted to painkillers. Okay. You got in trouble at work. Okay. Do you think you're the only person that's ever dealt with that? But there's people out there that have been through that. They can help you through that.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, there's that. Have you ever heard Jocko Willink?
Oh, yes.
Good. You got fired from your job. Good. You
Yeah.
didn't get a promotion. Good.
Yeah.
You didn't run your marathon. Good. What are you going to fucking do about it?
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to that. I remember hearing a saying a long time ago. You probably heard it. Look, life doesn't happen to you. Shit doesn't happen to you. Yeah, it might seem like that, but shit happens for you.
Yeah.
So if what didn't happen to you, which is horrible, would you be here right now? And you and I having this conversation, and you doing bigger and better things, and you helping people, and you being partnered with Dan, and all this other stuff would have happened. I mean, I don't know. Man, I just think the older I get, I think shit happens for a reason.
Yeah. It does. I firmly believe that, because I wouldn't be the person who I am right now if I didn't go through these struggles. Yeah. These struggles and traumas that we've all endured, they do not define us.
Oh, absolutely
What defines us is how we react to those and what we do.
And that's another thing. You said it, man. So many people, and I was one of those people. I'm wrapped up in the past. I made these mistakes. I fucked up at work, whatever. I've been divorced. That's who I am. That's not who you are. You still got, you said 50 years. You got another 50 years of your life, brother. Those just kind of molded you.
Yeah.
To where you're at right now.
Yep. And that's, you brought up Filthy Pirate, and, that's what brought me to Dan. So
talk about Filthy Pirate, the company. And I had Dan on the show, as you know, brother, but, talk about that in the show.
No, I walked into the coffee shop. I used to buy coffee from Black Rifle, because we're veterans, and, they do a shit ton of work for the veteran community.
2 Army guys, I think, that started that, I think.
Yeah. Green Berets. Yeah.
Green Berets.
And, I took up archery too through Operation Enduring Warrior, which was sponsored by Black Rifle. But I used to buy coffee from them, and I'm a huge proponent of small businesses and supporting local people. And I heard about Filthy Pirate Coffee, and that Dan was a former cop. We had never met and worked. We both worked for the 2 largest agencies in our county. And I walked into the coffee shop one day, and I looked in his eyes, and I was like, this is a motherfucker right here that has been through some shit just like I have. And we hit it off. I started helping out around the coffee shop, and it was a great transition. You know what I mean? When I first retired, I worked at Bottle Breacher, which is owned by
Eli Crane. Yeah.
Navy SEAL, running for Congress.
Went in front of Shark Tank, by the way, everybody. Yeah. Got funding from Mark Cuban.
He's a great fucking guy, man. And so I worked there, helped them out during the holiday season. And then I went to Filthy Pirate and started helping Dan out. And it was great for me, because I didn't have to deal with people. I could go in the morning, or I do go in the morning. I bag coffee and
it's one of those
K-cups.
It's one of those tasks where you're like, okay, I'm in the zone, I'm doing my shit, I'm retired, I'm not having to worry about some drunk driver.
I love it, dude.
I'm not worried about working at night at 3 a.m. and 0 dark 30. I'm just doing my shit, and now I'm gonna go home and I'm happy.
and the coffee is fucking remarkable, dude. I love it. But one of the things that I'd like to touch on is, we always talk about ourselves and our brothers and sisters, but my wife has been through hell with me, dude. And I've been through hell with her. And she is my biggest proponent and supporter, but life is difficult for her in this dynamic of me being retired.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that we all have to take into consideration once we venture down this road of retirement and not going back to work. Thankfully, she has a good job, but she works her ass off. And, you know, she feels a little resentment, right? Because at the beginning of my career, when we had kids, I worked, she stayed home with the kids, and that was her full-time job. And she did an amazing job raising our 2 kids. And it was different for me because I was working, and I didn't resent her because I knew that she was doing the things to make our family whole. And now it's difficult for her because I'm not working. I don't want to go to work until I am 100% in love with myself and able to love myself again and fix all of these things. So it's a difficult transition for her too. So just make sure that you all who are listening, if you're going through this, to keep your significant other, your wife, your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and open up, you know, start the communication, because we're shitty communicators with our spouses when we're cops.
And there's a reason why we have high divorce rates.
Absolutely.
You know, to have a wonderful woman in your life, buddy, who is supporting you. I mean, that says that obviously she loves you. And she supports you. And it's tough, you know. I mean, geez, like I said, married to a first responder. I don't care if you're a female first responder. I mean, it is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that. I mean, to come home and I remember I would come home, wouldn't talk to anybody. I'd need my time to decompress, usually with a drink for, you know, an hour
or
maybe.
2. Yeah.
Hey, you want to go out to eat? Nah, I want to fucking stay home.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because I've been dealing with people all day. All right. I just want to chill. And that just compounds itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
You the man, brother. How can people find you, Kurt? I know you're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, TH Doors on Instagram, and Kurt Dabb on Hotmail. Yeah, I'm a huge Doors fan, man, and I legit got an email from one of the Doors band members 20 years. Well, I've had this email since 1994 when I was a freshman in college, and I got an email in early 1995 from a then living member of the Doors asking if they could buy my I'm like, no, man, and I don't even have the E in it. It's just TH Doors. So
well, you talk, you know, young people might listen to this going, who the hell are the Doors? Jim Morrison, the Doors? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And you know what? I do 4 shifts a month on Cop Line. So
thank you, brother.
You never know. You might be able to talk to me, you know, get me on a Cop Line shift one of these days.
You're amazing, brother. Final thoughts, people out there struggling. What do you want to tell them right now?
And we do the Thin Brood Line podcast as well. Dan and I do that, where we discuss, you know, all things out there for first responders. One thing to leave, man, is just we are all connected. We are all connected to nature, and we are all connected to each other. And I never, ever in my wildest dreams thought I would be saying that, but I truly believe it now. And it's taken me 50 years to realize that. And I'm really excited to explore what all that stuff has for me. And I hope that, you know, your listeners can take a little bit of, you know, what we talked about today and make themselves just a little bit better. You know, if you can be better today than you were yesterday, that's all that matters, man.
Well, you know, and it's increments too. Everybody wants to do shit big and bad. How about just doing 1% better today or 5%? And then it's the compounding effect, right? And then by the end of the year, shit, you're fucking 50% better.
Amen. Yeah.
Kurt Dabb, you're the man, brother. Thank you so much, brother. I look forward to speaking with you more in the future. Everything we talked about today, folks, will be linked up in the show notes. Thank you, brother. Be safe. God bless. Thank you for your service.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.